Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to my final festive list of 2022. Already on the channel is my top 10 favourite films of the year, my top 10 favourite games of the year, my top 10 worst films of the year, and we are ending with my top 20 most anticipated films of 2023. Now this is a top 20 list because this is always a list that is difficult, I think, to whittle down to just 10 films. I could probably have done a top 30 list fairly easily with all of the films that I am aware of that are coming out next year. Now, always there are some lovely surprises that come along every year that don't make this kind of list. But these are films that I've been looking at and looking forward to watching in 2023. Now, these lists are always quite difficult because I've done these lists previously and some of the films that I've anticipated in the past haven't even been released the following year. So there's a couple on this list that I think were on my list last year that never even got a release this year. So anyway, I do hope you enjoy checking out my list, and I would be very interested to know in the comments what your most anticipated films of the year are. So thanks for watching. Now, coming in at number 20 is a film called A Man Called Otto. We'll get a chance to watch this fairly soon because it's being released in January. It stars Tom Hanks, who plays a grumpy guy called Otto. It's based on a well-known book, and it was made into a film, I think, in 2015. I'm not sure if it was a Swedish film, something like that. So it reminded me when I saw the trailer of a little bit of As Good As It Gets, but it's about this grumpy guy who basically bonds with these new neighbours that move in next door. Sounds good. Coming in at number 19, we are getting a new Evil Dead film this year, or next year, should I say, called Evil Dead Rise. Now, this will either be a complete disaster or it will be a breath of fresh air to the franchise. This time, it is set in like a tower block, and the demons are released in this tower block. So, like I said, this could be really, really cool, really different, or it could be an absolute disaster. But I'm interested to check it out either way. Coming in at number 18 on the list is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, I think we're all starting certainly to get a little bit burned out with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the concept of this and the idea of this certainly sounds promising. It's, for me, likely to be the best Ant-Man film. We're gonna get more on Kang in this film, all that kind of stuff. So fingers crossed it is going to be good, but please, Marvel, don't ruin it. Coming in at number 17 on the list is The Meg 2, The Trench, the sequel to, obviously, The Meg that came out 2 or 3 years ago, that was cheesy as hell, but very, very entertaining. Who doesn't want to see Jason Statham going up against a gigantic shark? And this time we get more sharks. Apparently there's going to be a giant alligator as well, or something like that. It's probably going to be bonkers as hell, but hopefully it's going to be entertaining too, so quite looking forward to it. Coming in at number 16 on the list, and this is probably going to be higher on a lot of people's list, and the only reason it's not higher on mine is because, I'm not that into animated films, to be fair. If this was a live-action film, it would probably be my most anticipated film of the year. It is Spider-Man Across the SpiderVerse, the sequel to the highly successful animated film that came out a few years previously. This is touted to be loads of fun. There's going to be probably countless Spider-Men in this film. It's probably going to be well made, so it's likely to be very, very good indeed. Number 15 on my list is Shazam: Fury of the Gods, a film that I would probably be more excited about if the DC universe wasn't in turmoil right now. James Gunn is making sweeping changes. As we all know, Henry Cavill's out, probably is going to make massive changes. So we don't even know if this is going to be the Shazam that we see going forward. So I'm a bit worried to get invested in this film and this character if they're going to completely change it next year or whenever. Number 14 on my list is Creed 3. Who'd have thought that when Creed came out, it would spawn a successful, second Rocky franchise, which it absolutely has. The first Creed was outstanding. Creed 2 was arguably better than Creed 1 in many, many ways. And Creed 3, we get the directorial debut of Michael B. Jordan, who is directing this one. However, we don't get any Stallone in this one, but hopefully this will still be good. Coming in at number 13 on the list, we are getting a new Salem's Lot. I think this was one of those that was on my list last year. We never got a release this year, but it is looking promising. We've got Alfie Woodard in the cast. We've got Bill Pullman's son, who is in Top Gun Maverick. We've got the guy from Game of Thrones and Overlord cast as the vampire, I believe. So it's now taking shape, and it is scheduled for release this year. So it's one of my favourite Stephen King stories, so fingers crossed it's going to be good. And similarly, we are getting a new Exorcist sequel. It's not a reboot, it's not a remake. Very much like the Halloween franchise, it is getting a legacy sequel. And guess who's behind it? It's David Gordon Green, who did the 3 Halloween films, recent films. He has now taken over the Exorcist franchise, and apparently he's going to deliver another 3 films in the franchise, very similar to the Halloween films. We've got some of the legacy characters returning from the original Exorcist. Fingers crossed it's good. Now, coming in at number 11, I personally can't see this one coming out in 2023, but it's slated for release in 2023. It's Triplets. Now, this has been on the cards for years. We're getting Arnie back, we're getting Danny DeVito, and for years, Eddie Murphy was attached to this project. This is one that's been on my list previously, never seen the light of day, but apparently it is now getting the go-ahead, and we have a new character instead of Eddie Murphy. So fingers crossed we get it next year. Coming in at number 10 on the list is Extraction 2, the sequel to the massively successful and popular action film that was released on Netflix 3 years ago, something like that. Chris Hemsworth playing this character. The action from the first Extraction was outstanding. It was brutal, it was gritty, it was hard-hitting. And we're getting a second one that is probably going to ramp it all up to 11 and be even more impressive. So hopefully it will be. Now this was I think it was my most anticipated film on last year's list, and we never got it this year. There's a few reasons for that. It's been a turbulent production. I think that's an understatement. They've had to refilm, recast, they've had to edit this, we've had to make cuts here and there, but I'm still hopeful that this is going to be good. But again, it's the DC universe, and who knows what James Gunn is going to do with that moving forward. So, coming in at number 8 on the list is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This, 10, 15 years ago, would easily be my most anticipated film of the year. I would have been stupidly excited for it, but Harrison Ford's 80 years old. There's all these rumblings that it's going to be a woke mess. I'm clinging on to hope that this is going to be a really good swan song for the character, but I do have some doubts. I can't deny it. Coming in at number 7 is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. You know this is going to be good. You know this is going to be class. You know the action's going to be absolutely top-notch. The stunts are going to be out of this world. This franchise has just gone from strength to strength from the third one onwards. It's Tom Cruise's baby. He's totally committed to this character in this franchise. So you know, if it's anything like Top Gun Maverick, it's going to be absolutely top-class stuff. Coming in at number 6 is the little film called Renfield from Nicolas Cage. Now, Nicolas Cage fans out there, who doesn't want to see him playing Dracula in a comedy? Anybody? He is going to ham it up to the max. And after The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which was my favourite film last year, I'm all in to see Nicolas Cage as Dracula in this film. It's going to be ridiculously fun and entertaining. It probably will be a bomb at the box office, but I don't care. Coming in at number 5 is the Equalizer III, one of my favourite action franchises. I think they're quite underrated, these films. The action's brilliant. Denzel Washington is outstanding in the role in these Equalizer films. I think this one is billed to be in Europe rather than the US, so we're going to see this character running right across Europe, but hopefully it's going to be top class stuff. Coming in at number 4, we're getting a new Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel. Rumours are that it's going to be called Firehouse. It's going to be based in New York this time, so it's going back to its roots with the original Ghostbusters franchise. We're going to see some of the returning characters. I doubt whether we'll see the likes of Bill Murray back, but probably we'll see Dan Aykroyd and some of the others that we saw in Ghostbusters Afterlife. Hopefully it'll be good. I really enjoyed Ghostbusters Afterlife, so I'm hoping the sequel will improve on the first one. Coming in at number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Probably one of the few Marvel films that Marvel won't mess up this year, because James Gunn has had the reins for this one for a few years. It's his swan song with Guardians. It's his swan song with Marvel. Hopefully it delivers. The Guardians of the Galaxy for me are one of the few remaining bright spots in the Marvel films. So I suspect this one is going to be pretty good. Coming in at number 2 is John Wick 4, another film that was on my list last year. I think it was even on the list year before. This has been delayed notoriously, not because it's bad, at least I hope it's not for that reason, because it certainly looks fantastic from the trailers I've seen. I think it was delayed last year because it didn't want to clash with Top Gun Maverick. A few other reasons here and there. It's John Wick 4. You know it's going to be superb. It's got an absolutely fantastic cast. The action's going to be breathtaking, and it's going to be good. But for me, my most anticipated film of 2023 is Dune Part 2. I thought the first film by Denis Villeneuve was outstanding. I'm a big fan of the source material. I'm a big fan of the original film from the 80s, even though it's flawed. And I thought Denis Villeneuve brought Dune to the big screen flawlessly. I thought the first Dune looked stunning. I thought it was just so well done. The story is it's one of those films that many people have said for years is unfilmable, and it has been transferred to the big screen and small screen quite successfully previously. But I think Denis Villeneuve absolutely nailed it with the first one. I can't wait to see the conclusion. It's not a sequel as such, it's just the second part of the first film, because many people's complaint from the first film was that it just ended. Well, of course it just ended because the second part is coming. So it's not exactly a sequel, it's just part 2. So I'm really excited to see the conclusion of this. If if the second one's a success, then hopefully he will dip his toes into more of the Dune lore and franchise, and we might get even more Dune films, which would be excellent for me. So yeah, this is my most anticipated film of the year, and it's a film I know is going to be good because it's Denis Villeneuve that's making it. So I hope you enjoyed this list, guys. Let me know in the comments what your most anticipated films of the year are, and I will be back with loads more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.